G'day YouTube world and welcome to Leah's Handmade Crafts episode number 9. Today is 10 non-yarny things about me. So we should be good, but there may be a few tears, so I've got my handy tissue box just in case, but hopefully not. Okay, so number 1 is I'm a single mum of 2 adult children, 19 and 18. Scary but true. And I'd like to know where those years have gone, because I think the time monster took them. But that being said, I loved them when they were little and they were exploring their world and learning all about the world around them. And I love them now they're adults, because they can go off and do their own thing and they can come back and tell me all about it. But I've got a little bit more freedom than I did have as well. So yeah, it's exciting but a different type of learning curve. Letting them go without letting them go, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's a bit scary. I'm an autism mum. I'm very proud of my son, who has high functioning autism. He has blown away so many boundaries and so many issues over the years. He has dealt with horrendous bullying. He's dealt with schools not offering him the support that he needs, and yet in spite of all of that, he is the most amazing young man. Phenomenal. So this is number 3. Excuse me. I'm one of 4 generations of women with endometriosis. Please excuse that. That's my alarm to remind me to take some medicines. I'm one of 4 generations of women who have had endometriosis. My grandmother, my mother, myself, and now my daughter. And unfortunately, with each subsequent generation, it seems to be getting that little bit worse. But the blessing that my daughter has that the 3 generations before her didn't have was that she's got access to different treatment options that weren't available to us. And that's pretty awesome, I must say. Number 4 is I live with acute and chronic pancreatitis. It developed in 2015 as a result of a procedure after having my gallbladder out, because I kept getting pain, and I ended up, after one specific procedure called an ERCP, with a bout of pancreatitis. And apparently it is rare. About 1 to 2% of people develop pancreatitis as a result of an ERCP, but unfortunately I happen to fall into that rare category. In the short time since that procedure, I have been in hospital countless times. In 2015 I was in 3 times. In 2016 I was in 4 times. In 2017 I was in 13 times. I was in twice last year, and I've been in once so far this year. And they vary from overnight or day procedures to, you know, a month and a half in hospital. So it means that our family life often gets disrupted by my attacks or by my operations. In the last 2 years, I've had 2 major operations. I had a Whipple in 2017. And if I won't go into the ins and outs of that, but if you research what a Whipple procedure is, you'll realise that it's a pretty full-on nasty procedure that saves people's lives, but completely and utterly radically changes it at the same time. I'm not the same me that I was prior to 2017, emotionally, physically, mentally, or mentally, physically, emotionally, or psychologically. And you'll notice occasionally when I'm talking, I literally just stop what I'm saying because I hit a brain blank. I'll have the words in my head and I'll know exactly what I'm going to say, and then all of a sudden, like someone's dropped a sheet in front of me, I can't think of what the word is that I'm looking for. I can't think of what it was I was going to say. I take 40 tablets a day. Some of them are to help me digest my food. Some of them are to help my stomach do its job, because I have gastroparesis as well, which is paralysis of the stomach. Some of them are painkillers, and some of them are vitamins, because I'm so nutritionally deficient. Even though I now am 20 kilos heavier than I was 2 years ago, I still have severe malnutrition. And that's something that unfortunately I will live with for the rest of my life. And as a result of all of this, I can't work. So crocheting has become my whole world, other than my children, because it gives me a way out of my everyday existence. It allows me to think about something creatively and beautiful, and it gives me a chance to make something and do something and get that sense of accomplishment and achievement that we get from work, that unfortunately I can't do. Excuse me. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the joy of my life. I recently, last month, had another operation where they did what's known as a fundoplication, and it's to help reduce the reflux that I have as a result of my issues. I have always lived with reflux, but it's that much worse because of what's happened. And so they had to basically replumb all of my insides, and they moved the pancreatitis and bile ducts from the stomach 100 centimetres down into the small intestine, and they redid the top half of me. I literally, if I have a scan, nothing looks the way that it should, except for the kidneys and the liver. They're the only two at the moment that remain untouched. Everything else has been replumbed. But anyway, I'm here despite all of that, and every day is a blessing, and I thank God for it, because without my faith and without my family, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I'm a very lucky lady. On to a much lighter topic. Number 5 is I am a tragic and lifelong supporter of the West Tigers in the NRL and the Richmond Tigers in the AFL. Prior to 2000, the Tigers in the NRL used to be the Balmain Tigers. And I have been a Balmain/Tigers girl since I could toddle. I love my black, white and gold. And every March I get excited because a new season begins and new hope in the season, and, you know, hope the team does well. At the moment, pray God it stays this way, they're at the top of the ladder. That's the first time in 16 years they've been at the top, or 19 years they've been at the top of the ladder. So I am thanking God for that and hoping that it continues. So occasionally you'll see me very excited and very happy because my team has won, or I might be a little bit down in the doldrums because they've lost. Number 6 is I first learnt to sew when I was in high school, but I was never really interested in it. My mother is the phenomenal sewer in our family. She sews everything, and can make patterns from scratch. It's amazing what she can do. And so I always left it to her because it was easier to hand it over and let her finish it. I'd start something and it wasn't quite right, and I couldn't quite see why it wasn't quite right, so I'd hand it over to her, she'd fix it, and it was done. But in more recent times, I've taken some sewing lessons, and I have a renewed vigour for learning how to sew. So I have a plan that later this week I'm going to start making some project bags. We shall see how they turn out. I'm sure that I will show you the good, the bad, and the ugly of my sewing. But it's been a good journey. I started sewing classes with a girlfriend last year, and I'm so glad I did. I've made a skirt and a top. I've got to finish that off yet. But yeah, there's lots ahead. Number 7 is I have a happy place. Well, actually, I have 2 happy places that I love to go to. They are both my spiritual home. They're the place where when I go to them, I feel a sense of calm. I feel centered. I feel that I can shake off the shackles of life and shake off the shackles of illness and everything else, and I can just sit and be and just calm. One of those places is called Sussex Inlet, and it's on the New South Wales south coast, and next time I'm down there I'll take some video footage and pop it at the end of a video. It's just the most glorious little place, just on the water, just serene. Townspeople are gorgeous. The atmosphere there is just beautiful, and ever since my 2 were little, I would take my son there whenever I noticed he was getting tense and the sensory overload was happening. I'd take him there, and Sorry about that. My little puppy dog doesn't like it when people walk around in the foyer outside. So one of the places is Sussex Inlet, and the other place is Tasmania, down the south end of the country, the little island that's at the bottom of the country. I have family that come from there, and I have family that live there. And when I say come from there, my grandfather's family moved north to Sydney and New South Wales in the it must have been about the 30s. The 1930s they moved to Sydney, and in more recent times I've had 3 relatives move back down there. So an aunt and an uncle, 2 cousins and their partners and family have all moved down to Tassie. So it's my spiritual place, and I go there, and whenever I arrive in Tasmania, I just feel like everything is just right. Everything's centered, everything's peaceful. And the saddest reality is I would live in either of these 2 places, but the transport to my medical support is just too far. I need the doctors that I have. They quite literally keep me alive. So without their support, I wouldn't be here doing this today. So I go to these places for holidays and I recharge, and then I come back and I do what I have to, and then I repeat the cycle. So yeah. Number 8 is that I'm a counsellor. I spent 6 years studying to become a counsellor, and it was a 4-year course, but it took me 6 years due to illness for myself, and illness with my son, and illness with my daughter, and I needed some time off in the middle of all of that for mental health to try and get me back on an even keel after everything else. So it took me 6 years. I finally completed it in December of 2016, only to take a massive attack of pancreatitis in January 2017, and I've not been able to work at the job I love. I trained as a general counsellor, but I was specialising in alcohol and drugs, grief, and living with chronic illnesses, and the loss and grief surrounding all of that. But unfortunately, as I said, I'm on a bit of a hiatus at the moment. I don't know how long it will be before I'm able to work, but I'm hopeful that sometime in the next year to 2 years I'll be able to return to work. My condition will deteriorate over time. It's unfortunately the nature of the beast. They've told me I'm looking at anywhere from 5 to 10 years before it's completely dead, the pancreas that is. So I've got to just hope that in the meantime I can get some enjoyment of life and living in between. But anyway, number 9 is I'm the eldest of 3 children. I have 2 younger brothers. My mother came to Australia from Scotland, and my father is the 6th generation born in Australia from colonial stock, so from convict stock. His mother's side go right back to the First Fleet, and his father's side go back to the early days of colonial Tasmania, and so they were convicts there as well. And there were some free settlers on both sides, but predominantly they were the bad guys. And all of that, funnily enough, leads to number 10, which is I am a family historian tragic. I have lost countless hours, and I mean countless hours, to this obsession over the years. In fact, the hours that I've lost to tracing my family tree would be on part of the hours that I put into my crocheting. I have spent an entire holiday in Tasmania tracing my family roots. That was my 40th birthday present from everyone. And I had a wonderful 5 days tracing the family tree right up until my grandfather left Tasmania in the 1930s. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and I love family history almost as much as I love crocheting. So they're my 10 non-yarny things about me. There was a bit of a break in there for Sir Gus, but I hope you enjoy them, and if there's anything that you can relate to, just drop me a line below. Please like the video if you enjoyed the video. Share if you feel so inclined, and if you're not a subscriber, please come across and become a subscriber, and welcome to my mad clan. Until next time, keep crafting, keep crocheting, have fun, and God bless.